Okay. Can you see me, Peter?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, perfect. Everyone. Right. We're just about to get started.
Okay.
I know everybody's mic's closed, but good morning, Sue Haynes. I can see people popping in.
Hear me okay this way, Beth? Can you see me this? Can you hear me okay this way?
Yes, I can.
Was it better? It was better with the headset or okay?
Yeah, you're fine without the headset. Could you hear me, Peter?
Okay.
Hey, Peter, can you hear me? You may want to go back to the headset.
You there? You think it's a headset?
What screen are you? Can they see the presentation to the side?
Your mic is on.
Mine?
Peter, too.
What's that?
Okay, are we ready to go?
It's good here.
All right, well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. We're just going to go ahead and get started. So we'll move right along into it. I hope everybody's having a good morning. I'm Thad Wittenberg. You can see a couple of things that I've done in the past. I've usually used pictures of other people. I used Elon Musk on one of the last ones, and apparently it didn't work out too well for him, so I've decided to put my own picture up there. The first thing that we wanted to kind of start off with getting into this is a little poll on competing with your involvement with online cabinet companies. So Kelly, can you go and put the poll out there? Is the poll up?
Yes.
Okay, so if everybody could just fill out the poll real quickly, and we will be sharing results about it. All right, we're still getting some people that are coming on and responding to the poll, so it'll be curious to see what the results are. And how's our poll coming along? Are we
still collecting?
All right. Well, good. I'm glad we're getting a lot of participation this morning. Morning, Jeff Jones. You can see people as they arrive. How many do we have so far?
Voting percentages. 90% of people have voted.
Okay. Well, we have about a 90% vote so far, so we're going to go ahead and close the poll. But we have another poll later on, so if you missed that one, you can join in on the next one.
So the results were 91% no, 9% yes.
Okay. Great. All right, let's just move right into this then. One of the things I wanted to start off with is our sponsor, Peter D., who's joining us this morning. His actual name is Peter D. Gianmarino, but on the streets, he's known as Peter D. And what he does is manage to lead. When I worked at RICO, it's a process improvement methodology. And we found it a very effective way to improve our processes and make our businesses more efficient. So that's why I wanted to kind of introduce everybody to him. And I have a little video that I wanted to show. And here we go. It's a quick testimonial.
My name is Bob Williams. I own and operate the Star Construction Company. I just finished the leadership immersion course with Intelligent, and I would say one of the disciplines that you get out of a course like this is to spend time working on your business, not in your business, which is a good discipline to get into. They did offer some tools to that, and a lot of insight as to who we are, what we are, and why people buy from us, which I think was the foundation for building the rest of the worksheets out to help give us a clear vision as to where we want to go and how to get there. So if you have a business where you are trying to grow, you are trying to develop a process, or you are looking to just better what you already have, well worth the time and energy, just time getting into the discipline of working on your business rather than
Here we go. Okay, one thing I really liked about that testimonial was he talked about, the difference between working in your business and working on your business. And I think one of the things that we all find ourselves doing is getting caught up in the day-to-day activities, all of the urgent things that need to be taken care of. And then we don't leave a lot of time to spend on things that we need to be focused on to improve our business. And so I think the immersion class that Peter is going to be putting on, he did one this summer, is a good time for people to set aside to learn about how they can work on their business and not just in their business. So Peter, I know that you've worked with us at RICO and you've worked with some other kitchen and bath companies, which is our main audience today. Can you share a little bit about that experience and what you've learned?
Sure. First, Thad, thanks for having me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to meet with you here and your audience. And before we get going, let me also congratulate you, Thad. I understand you've just been recognized as one of the top 50 innovators in the kitchen and bath industry this year, and there's no question that you are a leader. And job well done, sir.
Well, thank you very much. You don't want to know how much that cost me, so we'll just get that off the table right now.
Right. Yeah, one of the things Bob was getting at in that testimonial that we emphasize in the Strategic Leadership Immersion Program, which will be offered again starting in February 2019. But in addition to understanding that it's important to work on your business, not just in your business, we also help you learn how to do that. So it's one thing to know it, but it's another to actually have the tools and the templates and the processes and the approaches to do it. So what we do is put you through a series of disciplined processes to help you get control of your business from the top down. So example, for example, is one of the things we've emphasized is that the purpose of any business is to solve a problem for a customer. So what participants learn is that it's important to know what it is, what service or offering you provide, to whom, and why they buy it, why they pay you to deliver the offering. And we call that the what, who, why, or the WWW. A lot of time on that. Another thing of a similar sort, a couple examples of many, is that every business does three things. It does what it does, it creates demand for what it does, and it grows. And so we look at each of those three processes as core to the business and as systems in different stages of maturity, and they grow iteratively over the course of an organization maturing. And so what we do is help people learn how to separate out what's going on in their business into those three systems, evaluate those systems, and determine which one currently constrains performance and growth. And then we focus on that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty key that you guys are using case studies, actual case studies from these businesses, so that they can take a process that they currently might be struggling with, and
right.
Then during that 10-week program, kind of work through what those solutions. So it's really real life and not theory. And the feedback that I've heard is that, that's just a great way to not only improve that process, but to learn how to use it in other processes they have within their business.
That's right. And what we say is your case is the course. So you learn content and then apply it as an individual to a practice case, and then to your case with your team, across teams, with outside executives and with instructors. So over the course of the program, you have an incredible opportunity to not just learn new things, but learn them and apply them, not just to practice cases, but to your own business. So in a way, it's a very efficient way to not just learn, but improve.
Yeah, and this is, I know some people have come as individuals to this, and I know some have come as groups from a company. And I think you had mentioned before that, when you can get more than one individual or team that are working together that are learning this process and working on it, right. That's a great way to approach it too. Are there any other prerequisites as far as, I know some of the companies you've worked with in the past, the Raycos and Signatures, are there any other things that, people, as far as their business is concerned?
Well, yeah, the main thing is that you are representing yourself as a leader of something significant that's endeavoring to perform and grow, and it wants to perform better and grow faster. And it can be an entity of an organization of any size. It can be 10 or 12 people, all the way up to a couple thousand people.
Well, great. Well, listen, I appreciate the insight into the program. Again, the feedback has been great. I know when we worked with you as a company, it was it really changed our whole approach. The one thing I do too like about the whole program and
the idea.
Yeah, is that it's a kind of a grassroots. It's not just it's not just top
have something that you're running that you have in mind to get better, and then what we do is work with you to describe what it is you currently have, what needs to change, about institutions. Lose you?
So, Peter, we may be having a little internet issues there, but there is more information out on our site. Again, I would encourage you guys to check it out. It focuses on all aspects of the business, whether it's in kitchen baths or not. It's all about learning a process to improve the process, which is an important thing to do. So anyway, thank you very much for your time this morning, Peter, and you have a good day, sir. I think we may have lost Peter's mic, so we are going to move right along to understanding the online strategy and model.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. It's just there's a big delay in it.
Okay.
But anyway, thank you for your time again this morning, Peter, and you have a good day, sir.
Okay. All right. Good luck to you all.
Thank you. So as we go through this, you can always raise your hand to ask questions. We probably won't open the mics until the end of the presentation so we can get through all the information. If you have questions that you'd like to type in, we have a team of over 100 people here to answer it. Okay, maybe it's not 100, but we have a few people here that can answer your questions, and if not, we will get to them at the end. But we'd really like to make this interactive as possible. Okay, so the online sales strategy. Let's talk about a few of the things that they've been focused on, or at least what I've been seeing out there. There's been a heavy investment in their websites and their SEO. If you go out to do an internet search for kitchen cabinets, you're going to see most of these people who sell online come up on the first page. They need to, because they don't have a bricks and mortar. Next part of their strategy is a perceived pricing advantage. And the reason I say a perceived pricing advantage is that the prices typically aren't much less than where I see it at as far as what dealers are offering right now. But people always have a tendency to think if they're buying direct online, that it's going to be less expensive than them going into a store. So that is one of the things that they are also touting. The next one on here, I think I mentioned in one of my blogs, in about 45 states, they have a state tax advantage that they don't have to charge because, those states, it's about a 6.2% add-on to the sale. So that by itself gives them, an advantage as far as pricing is concerned. And whatever state they're located in, if they sell in that same state, they do have to charge state taxes. Easy and convenient product selection. They've really set their websites up so that you can start asking, answering some questions like, hey, I'm looking for traditional, or I'm looking for contemporary, and then we'll, start narrowing down the doors for them and what they like, and they can start picking on those selections. So they're trying to make it as easy as possible for their consumers that are out there. One thing that I also wanted to just mention is that some of them are coupling themselves partners with fabricators. So they're also selling like Cambria countertops so that you can pick a top color online, what you want, the type of edge, and work with the designer through that. And then they outsource it to a local fabricator to be able to provide the countertop to the customer. So they're adding some other products and services as they continue to move into this new channel that's out there. They like to build direct relationships with their customers. Typically, when you sign on, you get assigned a designer right away who will call you and email you, and they want to try to build that relationship as much as they possibly can. They're providing design services. So everything can be done wherever that designer is sitting. Obviously, the customer needs to provide the measurements, but then they start working with the customer and asking them what they're looking for, and then they start designing around those requirements. Live chat. I mean, one of the things that I think we're all used to seeing when we go to a lot of websites is a live chat. It's hard to do when you are a kitchen and bath business that, only have, maybe 4 or 5 people, and how quickly someone could get back to a live chat. We can talk a little bit more about that later. But if you go out to any of these sites, that live chat is available like immediately. As soon as you click on it and you have questions, within a minute they are responding to you. And so again, that's part of one of the things that they are pushing towards consumers. This is business without boundaries. These online cabinet companies can basically sell anywhere in the U.S. They have strategic partners when it comes to deliveries. So there's nobody in the United States that they can't get to as far as being able to provide product. So, you know, when you start looking at things, that's a pretty big market that they have. Online measuring tools, I think you guys have seen cabinets.com. Some of the other ones have more written ones that are out there, but they're trying to make it easy for consumers to be able to do their own measuring at home so they can provide those to their online designer. If you look at cabinet sales across the board in 2018, they're estimated at roughly about 22 billion. And if you look at the online strategy, let's just say that they were taking about 1% of the market right now. That's 220 million in cabinet sales, which is pretty substantial. Again, only being 1% of the market. But as that continues to grow, you know, if that number got to 3%, then you're talking about 660 million in cabinet sales. And it is the fastest growing segment out of all the channels. I know it's a small one, and when you look as a percentage, it's easier to grow at a higher percent, but it is continuing to gain traction out there. When we did the poll, just to let you know, I don't know if you heard the results, but about 90% of the folks that are online right now do not sell currently online. And then we have about 10% that are selling product online. So that's a pretty big percentage. I thought it would be lower. And then they also offer free delivery on most orders. I think it's the cutoff's about $1,500. So you can see that that's another advantage that they're touting, that they're not charging for deliveries. And the last thing I have on here is they, you know, a lot of people say, well, what about the doors? You know, customers really need to hold them, feel them, you know, look at them. They do send out 2 free sample doors of your choice, and then you can kind of select which one you like the best, or, you know, for a cost, you can order other doors. So I just want to kind of give you a real quick general overview of what their strategy is. The next thing that I wanted to kind of move into is understanding their expense model. I'm just going to point out a couple things here. And again, obviously, every online company is going to have a different expense model. This one includes design services. But one of the other things that you're going to start seeing emerge more in the marketplace are people who are selling cabinets online that may not be providing design, but it'll just be point and click. Like, here's this, you know, you pick a cabinet style, here's a list of cabinets, you pick the base 24, I need a wall 2430. This may not be so much as for homeowners, but for contractors or house flippers. And when you look at their expense model, it's going to be a good bit lower because you're taking out the direct selling costs that they have. So, you know, it could be all the way down to 20% of sales, which means that they can be pretty competitive. The one thing I did want to make a note of here, or a couple things, is the direct selling costs, which we can look at. I have it at 10%. They do have to pay their designers, and I think, you know, obviously commissions and payroll taxes. You know, some of them are subbing out the people, their 1099s that they're using. But the fact that the designers are not having to meet with customers in the showroom, which I think everybody knows multiple times can be very time consuming. They also aren't going out to job sites to do measurements or do punch work. So the efficiency of the selling process is, you know, a little bit more, I guess, to a lesser degree involved when you get into the online sales. Obviously, the rent number is a lot less because they don't have to, you know, they have bricks and mortars, obviously, but it's usually an office setting, and they don't have to make the investment in a showroom and then keeping up with that showroom. One last neat thing I wanted to note on here is their marketing. They spend a lot in the marketing side because they don't have a local bricks and mortar showroom. They have to be out on the web, and to get attention out there and to drive that SEO, you have to have a fairly decent budget to be able to do that. You can see in this one, a $5 million company may spend $250,000. And then when you start throwing co-op in from the manufacturers, that number could be, all the way up to $400,000. So I will now move into the traditional expense model. On the last one you just looked at, the total was 28, and it was 1.4 million in expenses. In this model, based on 5 million in revenue, it's 1.6. The difference in depending on what the margin is, but is 4 points as far as a return on sales. So if you're an online model, and let's just say that you're averaging a 35 margin, you're at a 7% return on sales. If you're a traditional expense model and it's running 32, you're running a 3% return on sales. So I just wanted to kind of show the difference. I'd really like to see traditional expense models start moving down towards that, anything under 30 and really closer to a 28. I've seen expense models out there now that are at 35, and then maybe their blended margin comes in at 37, and they're doing a lot of work to make a 2% return on sales. So there's some areas that we can talk about where you can probably become more productive, more efficient, maybe gain a little bit more margins based on the value of the services that you're adding. Another thing I guess I really wanted to just key in on, because I've run across this, I work with a lot of kitchen and bath dealers, and it's their advertising budget that they have out there. It's interesting when you hear some speakers that say, hey, if you're selling retail, your advertising budget should be 8% of sales. But I don't think that applies to the kitchen and bath business, because we don't have the luxury of being able to charge margins in the 50s like they do at some of the window places or other places that do heavy advertising. And the other thing too to keep in mind is, let's say that you're a $2 million business, and half of it is retail. And so when you're doing your percentages, you can't do it as your overall business at 2 million. You have to say, my advertising is driving half of my business, which is my retail business. And that's the number you need to divide your expenses by. So in this example that I put out there, let's say that your retail blended margin is 38. That includes countertops, cabinets, labor, faucets, whatever you're selling in there, it comes out to be a 38. Well, you have to keep in mind that if you are spending advertising, like in this example, 4% of your sales is going towards that, that's dropping a margin from 38 down to 34. And then most of the time in retail, you're taking credit cards, which can run from 2.5 to 3. I just use 3 as a round number. So that leaves your true margin in doing retail at 31. So a couple things to look at. You have to make sure that your retail margins are at a high enough point to offset the advertising that you're doing and the credit card expenditures that you have out there. And also looking at your advertising budget. I'm more of an advocate that your advertising budget should be between 1% and 2%. When you throw in co-op from the cabinet manufacturers, that may get you to 2 to 3% in advertising, but only your true cost at 1 to 2%. There's other ways that you can more effectively grow your retail business than just doing advertising. And let's take a look at what that might be. It is all about referral, creating raving fans that is a must for your business. You can see one of the quotes that were in here from Tom Hopkins. It's called Sales Prospecting for Dummies. Your closing ratio on non-qualified leads, which are basically someone who may have seen an ad, just saw your showroom, drove in, is usually closer to 10%. Now that varies during, between industries, compared to 60% when it's a referred lead. So there is a huge difference from someone who just, again, heard you on the radio and decided to come in, compared to someone who is a raving fan, their neighbor, a coworker, a family member that said you absolutely should buy from these people. Your closing ratio just goes through the roof, which means that your folks are going to be a lot more productive instead of just putting quotes out there. One thing that I've been encouraging people to do is a process map. We put this together. There's a lot of little free tools that they have out there. I know it's hard to read each one of them, but it starts off with your website visit, online appointment, online pre-appointment package, maybe a welcome sign when they come in the door. So it goes through every step that the customer is experiencing as they go through your process. And what you want to do is to make sure when you're looking at every one of these processes, every touch point that you have out there, excuse me, is it creating a wow factor? Is it having a neutral influence, or is it diminishing the brand? I talked to a guy yesterday and he said, I like to get back to my customers within 2 or 3 days with a price. And one of the big holdups he was having was that he couldn't turn the designs around. And this isn't a push for our design services, but that's one of the reasons he wanted to use it, because we could turn them around in 2 to 3 days. And he wanted to make sure that he was getting back to that customer with some pricing as quickly as possible. And so, again, I think every company ought to do a process map of the customer experience, get everybody involved, go through it point by point, and really rate what impact it's having on your brand. And if it's something that, customers really don't like that, look at ways that you can improve it to make it more consumer friendly. Or maybe there's ones that you don't have in place right now, like the welcome sign. And I'm a big advocate of having a sign at the front of your door. I know Dovetail Design has one out there, and it's a chalkboard. And when they have customers come in, they write their names up there on the chalkboard, and they have, like the saying of the day, and it's just very warm and inviting. And there's a lot of other good touch points that you can put together that I think your team can create because it's all about continuing to build your brand. And again, when you are delivering touch points to your customers, and touch points again are every interaction that you have with your customer, whether it's in person, email, website, you name it, should be delivering amazing memory points. It's like when you go on vacation and someone says, oh, how was your vacation? And you say, oh, it was fantastic. It's like, oh, really? What made it so good? Immediately, the strongest memories of like, wow, we, just sitting there every night and watching the sun go down. Not that is exactly what's going to happen at your kitchen bath place, but they will have memory points that are very positive, because when they are telling the story to other people like that come to visit their home, and they're like, wow, I see you remodeled your kitchen. It looks great. The next question is going to be, who did it? And what that story is going to include is all the memory points that they had from that experience. And if they're all really positive and you've been able to create a raving fan, that is going to lead to a huge amount of referral business for you in the future. That's where I'd rather have people spend time than just running down. I'm not saying don't do any advertising at all, but I'm saying most of that funding could be personal types of things that you can provide to customers that will make them remember you and tell great stories about your business. Yeah, why don't we go into the next poll that we have here? We'll break it up a little bit, and we're sending that out right now. And if everybody would just take a minute to respond to it, that would be great. The poll is open. Not the poll for everybody to vote that's coming up in November, but this poll, which is much more important than that poll. That's just my unbiased opinion, of course. So we'll wait till we get the okay that we've had a fair amount of people, and then we will go ahead and close the poll. How are we doing right now? 82%. So we still have 18%. All you got to do is hit the quick poll number, and then we will go ahead and close it, and then we will share the results. Okay, why don't we go ahead and close the poll? All done? Okay, we got to, hold on.
Just do current slide.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about websites. I've been to a lot of kitchen and bath dealer websites, and I'll be honest, some of them are really good, and then other ones don't look like they've been touched in 10 years. And I just hope everybody understands how important your website is, because we talked about people telling somebody else about the story, right? And guess what? The first thing that they do isn't run over to your showroom and go in there. Typically, about 99% of them are going to go out to your website and go, hey, let me go check out that business that I heard about. And if they look at that website and they're like, wow, this thing's really antiquated and it's not like user friendly, they're already getting, so I'm sorry, I didn't touch anything. They're already getting I guess a diminished view of your brand that's out there. And so anyway, I just put something together just real quickly. You've got to make sure that you're investing in your website, that there's engagement in your website, because it is also defining your brand that you have out there. I saw this graph the other day, and I thought it was very, it was a great way to show you, like, you start with strangers that may have just heard about your business, and then they go to your website, and then the next thing is they have, they become visitors, and then you convert them into leads. And then, eventually they come into your showroom or they do it online, you close them, they become customers, and then you obviously delight them through the process, and then they become promoters to your business. And then obviously you can see that circle back around to tell other people who don't know about your business. It's called transference of trust, if you've never heard of that before. Once one person trusts a business, and then they tell somebody else that trusts them about another business, guess what? Even though they don't know who you are, TOT is just taking place. And it is the best type of advertising that you can have out there. Transference of trust. Okay, we're moving right along. I want to talk about the kitchen and bath hybrid business a little bit, because I know we have some people who are interested. So here's 3 things that you may want to consider. The first one is, if you have a 3% or less return on sales, I would hold off on any online initiatives. All your time and resources should be spent on improving your current bottom line, which means your processes, your productivity, and your customer experience. And the reason I say that is you would need money to help generate through the website and other means to get your online business off the ground. And I think you have a great opportunity with just your bricks and mortar showrooms right now to improve that bottom line, so that you get to the point where you can start investing more in the opportunity to be able to provide consumers things through the internet. The second one is the 3 to 6% return on sales companies should probably start with a limited online sales opportunity, which I'll tell you a little bit about that. And then you get your 6% plus businesses as far as return on sales. They've obviously shown an ability that they can execute on their strategy. They have more funding, And because they've already proven that they can execute on that strategy, they're going to have a much higher success rate in moving to, or adding an online model. Okay, so here's the limited option. And I really like this. This is kind of like dipping your toe in without a huge investment, but there's things that you could offer online that would be a vanity top and faucet package, along with hardware, and you'd put it into a good, better, best, where people could, okay, I need a 30-inch vanity. Okay, well, here's 3 choices that you get out there, and now they've picked that, and then it leads them to 3 different tops. It could be a cultured marble, or a granite, or a quartz top. And then they have like 3 different faucets that they could pick from, and it pulls it into their shopping cart, and then they can buy it, and then they can see all the prices. They could pay for it online, and then you deliver it, whether you're inventorying these things or you're ordering from your manufacturers. It can all go out as a package to your customer. Another idea is, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people in the showrooms walk around, because a lot of times you guys have great merchandising in your showrooms, whether it's pots and pans that are in there, or bowls, or pictures, or whatever, and they're like, wow, I really like that. Where can I get that? And you could display these things online. Now, they're not huge money makers. You can probably make good margins on these things, probably about a 30 or better, 35. The idea is that you want to get customers used to interacting on your website. Like maybe you do a newsletter before Christmas and say, hey, here's some really cool items that we had in our showroom, that we also sell. It's easy to set up vendors who will, you don't want to bring it in-house and then deliver it on your own truck, or have someone you can have it shipped directly from the manufacturer to that end user consumer. And all they'll see is they're buying it from you, and then it's being shipped from the manufacturer to them. Really, when you look at the Amazon's model, that's pretty much a lot of what happens. They bring some of the stuff into the warehouse, other stuff is shipped directly from the manufacturers. Kitchen and bath maintenance items, as far as granite cleaning, liquids that you can use, or kitchen cabinet cleaners, or any of these kind of little cool items that you have out on your site. People can click and buy them, and then get them shipped to them. I thought another one that someone had mentioned to me that was great, like safety locks for kids. You go out there and you can say, they're like, hey, I need these for, I've got young kids in my house. Oh, you can go online and buy those, and you can buy 10 of them for, $40. They click, they buy them. It's shipped directly from the manufacturer to them, or whoever the distributor is. That's what I mean as far as getting into limited options. And I'm trying to bring this to a close, because I know we went over a lot of information. And I've talked to a lot of people about this. If you are a traditional kitchen and bath model, let's say you're called Fancy Pants Kitchen and Bath, you have a certain brand and certain services. And if you were on your same website saying, hey, we also do online sales, I think, first of all, it's going to diminish your brand a little bit. People are saying, hey, I really want like a professional, and sometimes the online may not be looked at in that way as much. And it's confusing for the customers. Like, hey, should I buy the traditional way, or should I buy the online way? And so what I would suggest is that you separate the 2 brands, and that you have 2 separate websites. You have the Fancy Pants website, and then maybe Cabinets Made Easy website, where you can build an online model that's out there. So, all right, pardon me? Last poll we're going to send out there real quickly, and then we're going to get into Q&A. And while she is doing the polling, I did want to mention we're going to have a quick survey after the Q&A. It'd be great if you could fill it out. One thing that's very exciting here is that our CABS program, which is Kitchen and Bath Systems, is now up and running. We have numerous dealers who are using it. It was exclusively developed for kitchen and bath dealers out there. So, okay. All right. So we're gonna close the poll now and get into the Q&A.
We've only got 69% that have voted so far.
Use another 15 seconds.
Okay. So, Jan had, pardon me? We're gonna give 15 seconds?
You can still-
15 seconds on the poll, but I'm gonna start answering some of the questions that came in. This one came in from Jan. What's the best online measuring? And one of them that we found was cabinets.com. They have I guess a great layout tool. But we use Canvas, which we've tested, and I would say the only thing about Canvas, which does a really cool job of downloading into SketchUp, into other programs that can go directly into 2020. They also have SO10 out right now, which is a
iOS 12.
pardon me?
iOS 12.
iOS 12, and that is an app that's on the iPhone. We did some measurements here, and it was precise. And pretty soon, like, everybody's phone will be able to go there. You basically hit a spot, you point it on there, and you walk to the other side of the room, and you're able to get exact measurements. So homeowners are going to be able to do that. The next question that we had on here was, what is one of the largest online cabinet companies sales right now? I don't know the sales, but I would say that Click Studios is probably the largest online cabinet sale right now. I know that they have probably, close to 150 designers on staff, which would mean that they're doing a fair amount of business. So, go ahead.
Wayne wrote, one of the largest online cabinet sales companies went out of business. Any comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. One of the largest ones went out of business. I was not familiar with who that was. So I can't comment on it. But if I can open the mic and if you want to talk about it, look, I think I know one thing I can tell you. One of the larger ones that we've been talking about in current blogs just had to lay off a number of their designers. They put a lot of money into the SEO and built this big program about selling online, and their sales did not grow as anticipated. Online cabinet sales, I don't want to say this thing is just going to happen overnight, because it's not. It's going to take time to get better and better as far as the model is concerned, and then start to build traction. And what I'm encouraging people to do is start to get involved and understand it a little bit more as you move forward. So do we have any other questions?
This is from Nicole.
Okay, from the poll. And can we open mics? If anybody wants to raise their hand and open the mic, we'd love to hear from you. Okay, so this was an interesting poll. I asked how many people had lost a job to an online sales as far as cabinets were concerned. 51%, over half of them said they had lost a job to an online sales company, and 49% said no. So again, you can see that it is starting to grow. It is going to be part of our industry moving forward, and it's important for us to know what things that we can do to compete with those online cabinet companies by really adding a lot of value and to the customer experience. So other questions that could come through?
There's one from Jean Allen. We're going to open her mic.
Yep, we're going to open.
Unmute Jean.
Jean. Hello, Jean. Hello, Jean. Do you have your mic open? We've opened yours. Hello, Jean. Sort by hand. There's Jean. Jean, your mic is still open. Okay, Jean. So let's see. Do we have anybody else that has any questions that want to raise their hands?
Do you want to know what Jean's question is?
Yeah. Oh, Jean typed it in.
Based on what I've read, it sounds like the new online sales tax laws are going to make things a lot more difficult than previously. What's your suggestion on how to tackle this?
The tax laws as far as it's going to make it a lot more difficult. I mean, the Supreme Court is still out as far as online sales. My guess is that long term, they are going to allow the states by state to decide whether they want to charge for state taxes for online sales. There's a huge amount of revenue that is being lost by the states right now because supposedly the person is supposed to claim the sale and then pay the taxes on it, and that never happens. So I think you're going to see a strong movement in the near future where they won't have that type of advantage as far as not having to charge state taxes. Other questions?
Hi there, I'm unmuted. I'm Taja, and I have a question and I also have a suggestion. But I'd like to start with the question. You mentioned in your blog moments ago that there was an online cabinet company that had a fairly major layoff. Can you share who that is?
I will tell you they're based out of Florida. I guess I can say the name. It's again, the only verification I have is people who are now looking for jobs that were working there, and that was cabinets.com.
Oh, okay, yeah, they are pretty big. So I have an online. I sell cabinets online. And I also sell them through our showroom. We started off as a showroom in the San Francisco Bay Area and moved to an online model that's, and we selected a niche to focus on. So the two things, and that's worked well for us, but it is expensive. SEO and PPC is very expensive. Right now, our cost to acquire an online customer is probably close to $2,000.
Wow. Okay.
We sell very high-end cabinets, so our ticket price out the door is between $15,000 and $20,000, and people are paying 100% upfront. And the reason why we're able to do that is because we've added in our customer journey layers of legitimacy. So that way they can trust us as a company because they don't ever get to meet us in person. So
Right.
it does amaze me that, you know, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've seen the internet e-commerce go from who would spend $10 on the internet to people paying us $20,000 for cabinets up front in 15 years.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, please.
And how you do that is add layers of legitimacy, and that's great website design, outstanding customer service, tons of touch points. Anyway, so there's a lot to say there, but what I would like to add for your audience who so I'm just trying to validate that I'm experienced with online sales. The marketing stack is huge. The technology you need to know is a lot, and you got to put out a lot of money, but you will make money. The thing I wanted to add to your audience who may not be selling online is this. Even though I spend all that money online, our #1 acquisition channel is our showroom in the San Francisco Bay Area. Our #1 conversion from ballpark touch points to buying a design plan to buying cabinets is still the showroom. I got both models up and running so I can see all our conversions. So interestingly, we're actually putting more money into our showroom because that acquisition model works. But I'll tell you what is also working for us, and this is what I want to share, is we do our first touch points with our clients in the showroom. Well, no, our first touch points is probably SEO and PPC, and then they come in the showroom. But our clients come into the showroom once or twice. Everything else is handled online. And this is what I wanted to share. You don't necessarily need to have a whole online store, which is a huge investment. Tons of technology. I have programmers, I have SEO specialists, I have PPC specialists, that's pay per click. But what you can do that's a super low hanging fruit to make your job more efficient at your desk is to get a shared online workroom space for you and your client. So you're no longer emailing back and forth and living in your inbox with version control nightmare with, oh, look at that email that got buried because it had a different title, and this is where they wanted to change their specs there for their built-in microwave that I missed. It's a nightmare for both the designer and it's a nightmare for the busy customer. An online workroom is a login space that your clients can log into, make comments in threaded style. You upload your version, they make comments on the version, they can invite in their contractor, they can invite in their husband or wife. There could be, and then you get email notifications when something has been posted in your workroom. That's one really great way to capitalize on your strength, which is your showroom, because I tell you, it's still our #1 acquisition after 3 years of selling online.
No, I don't, Taja, first of all, I really appreciate your comments. It's great to have somebody who's doing both and can, give us a firsthand account of what you're seeing out there. I would agree that, when they're coming into your showroom, your closing ratio is, certainly going to be higher than, your non. So instead of your online, and thank you also for the workroom advice. And the last thing I want to mention, there is a lot of cost that is involved with getting into the online business, and that's why I said, look, if you're not at a 6% return or more, that's not something that you want to really start getting involved in. So thank you very much. Do we have other people that might have questions? I think John Mueller had a question. Can you raise your hand, John? And John, are you there? I know you had a question. Anybody else have a question? I thought that was some great feedback, Taj, and I it's just, amazing to see someone already taking the bull by the horns and running with the dual models that are out there. And I also found that, the poll that over 50% of the people have lost a job to someone online is really telling. And that, it's real, it's here, and it's only going to continue to grow. Oh, yes. Taja, can you, I think your mic's back open.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do is offer some suggestions on technology that helps you create workrooms for your clients, because I do think that's really a powerful way to streamline your communication and just start touch points that are off or that are online instead of offline. What I mean by offline, I'm in the Bay Area where everyone is busy and technology savvy. This may not be relevant to some other areas. Also, the age of your client makes a difference as well. But one easy and free online software you can use is Slack, SLACK, and you create Slack channels for each of your client. That's one that's really easy to use and that I would suggest. It's not the most robust, but it is free and easy to use.
Yeah, I've used Slack in the past before, and no, it's a great one, and there are other ones that are out there, and I really like the idea where you have like it's almost a chat room between you and the customer, and whether there's installers or anybody else involved, architects, where everybody, there's one place where all that information is kept.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Thank you for giving me the time to kind of speak up a little bit about the pros and the cons of selling online. There's always more to say, but I'll end with just the suggestion to, at the very least, instead of selling cabinets online as a ticket item, consider the selling process and bringing that online with an online workroom.
Yep, no, that's great, and no, I really appreciate you contributing. It's just great to hear from somebody who has, again, been involved in both sides of the business, and that's very helpful.
Gene had a question.
Okay, we got one. We got a question from Gene.
New online sales tax laws are going to make things a lot more difficult than previously. What's your suggestion on how to tackle this?
I think we had that one. Any other questions?
Mark Kaplan
Mark Kaplan.
says, are most of the online sales of Chinese cabinets, and how will the tariffs affect their model?
So, Mark, it's a good question you asked about. Are most of the online sales import products? I would say that I've seen that as a majority of the case, but I do know that there's a lot of domestic cabinets that are also being sold online. I'm trying to remember, there's a manufacturer up in New Hampshire that sells online. They make the cabinets locally. There's another one in Indiana. One of the ones out of Florida uses a domestic manufacturer. So I think it may lend a little bit more to the import, but you're also seeing the domestics. You know, and one thing to keep in mind is you never know when one of the larger domestics may private label, and you know, so they don't interrupt their dealer channel, and then they start selling cabinets online too. There's just going to be such an emergence of different channels out there and how people go to business because of the strong presence of internet shopping. Any other questions?
Gene does have a question.
So, Gene, you have a question. Gene, are you there? Gene, you have to make sure that your microphone is open. It might have a little X through it.
We got a question from Denise.
Okay,
Can you
Denise.
suggest any other online workroom options besides Slack?
Denise, I'm going to have to look into that. Do you know any? Denise, I have your email address, so I will look that up. Obviously, our CAB software has those type of chat rooms, but I'm not here to plug our cabs. But there are other ones that are out there that one dealer in particular I know uses, and I will make sure that I send you some of those other options.
WhatsApp.
Pardon me?
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp? Yeah. Actually, WhatsApp is what they use. Thank you.
And Mark asks, how can they send a $1,500 cabinet order across the country for free?
Well, I don't think they had. The question was, Mark said, how can they send a $1,500 cabinet order for free across the country? Basically, they are, you know, because the manufacturers are shipping these things to a hub, to a local hub where it's being delivered. And a $1,500 order, let's say that it's 5 cabinets or something. And usually what is being charged is about $18 a cabinet to receive and deliver. So they're building it into their margin. Obviously, they're losing about $18 a cabinet to get it delivered there. And I think they use that $1,500 mark as their, but I think most of their orders are in the $5,000 to $10,000 range, where they're making enough margin where they can cover those delivery costs. They call them last mile deliverers. Other questions? These are great questions, guys. Okay, I think that's it on all of our questions. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We've got another webinar that's going to be coming up next month, Embracing Technology to Improve Your Business. I'm really excited about this one. It's Thursday, November 29th. We'll have it up on our webinar to be able to sign up. I have it up on our website to be able to sign up for it. And we also sent out a survey at the end of all these webinars, and we'd love to get some feedback from you. So thanks again for your time. Have a great day, and I hope your business is great in success. Thank you.